Welcome back to ClickPlate, the show where we demystify some of the internet's most clickable and drool-worthy dishes. Now, today's recipe is one that I'm very excited about. It's one that you voted for, and it's one that I've picked up on my travels to Singapore. I didn't realize that Hainanese chicken rice was just so popular all across Asia. So today, we're diving deep and finding out more. Hainanese chicken rice is one of Singapore and Malaysia's most popular foods, and there is actually quite the controversy as to who actually invented the dish. However, it is without a doubt that the origins of Hainanese chicken originate in Hainan, China, with variations even dating back to the Qin dynasty in 200 BC. Talk about ancient history. Over the millennia, its evolution has been relatively small, as the simple method of poaching chicken to get the most pure taste with a flavorful broth has stayed almost the same. Served with an aromatic rice and dipping sauces, the simplicity of it all is why people love it so much. Now, I feel like taking on this recipe is like taking on an Irish stew. There is plenty of different variants. I'm sure a lot of people do it in a lot of different ways. And I invite you to let me know if we're kind of on the right track in terms of recreating this for ClickPlate. We are, of course, like any chicken rice recipe, starting with the chicken. So our chicken goes straight into a pot. Give the hands a quick wash. And to that, we add some ginger, the green parts of some spring onions, and a good, generous season of some salt. So salt, spring onions, ginger, chicken is in the pot. We're gonna add to that lots of water just to cover. Once you have topped that up with water, it's time to get a lid on, and this is gonna simmer until that chicken is nice and tender. Bring to the boil and immediately reduce to a low simmer and cook gently for 1 hour. And once the chicken's cooked, immediately place it in the ice water. This prevents further cooking and firms up the skin. Now, it might seem like a lot of effort, but this extra step will make the difference to your Hainanese chicken rice. So, we're going to take this giant, massive ice bowl and place it behind. Now, while this is resting, we're going to crack on by making our rice. So we have all this beautiful chicken stock at this point. So we're going to use this to make up our rice. Now, before I put the chicken in to cook in all that water, I actually took off some of the fat deposits that are inside the chicken, but also any of the excess skin and fat that was around the chicken. And what I've done here is just put it on a low heat and rendered out as much of that fat. And what we're really looking for with the fat is flavor. So those little bits have done their job at this point. So I'm just going to take them out. Very crispy, very tasty, and they won't go to waste. But the flavor and the fat that's in the bottom of this pan is what's going to give us a really great and authentic chicken rice. So bring this up to temperature. We're going to fry off a little bit of shallot and garlic, add the rice in, get loads of that chicken stock, and create a really rich and unctuous rice. Add the shallots and garlic and cook for 4 to 5 minutes until softened without color. Dip in the rice and gently stir to coat in the onion and fats in the pan. Add 800 milliliters of the chicken broth to the rice, bring to the boil, then lower the heat and reduce to simmer. Cover it with a lid and allow to simmer gently for 10 minutes until the liquid has all soaked up and the rice is cooked through. Now, while the rice cooks off, it's time to talk about the key sauces that go with Hainanese chicken. There's a chili sauce, but there's also a ginger sauce. So these two are super simple to make, and they all start in a pestle and mortar. To a pestle and mortar, add some chopped garlic, spring onions, some finely grated ginger, some sugar and some salt, and then it's time to bash the bejesus out of them until you have a nice smooth paste. Add a little bit of the chicken broth to loosen the mixture to create a nice smooth sauce. Give it a good swizzle and then stick it in a dipping bowl. Now for the chili sauce. Shallots, bashed garlic cloves, chopped ginger, red chili, a good squeeze of lime juice, and a generous pinch of salt to taste. Time for a bit more bashing and you will be left with a fiery red sauce that you won't want anywhere else than in your mouth. Now it's time for the chicken, which has been soaking in the ice bath. Drain the whole chicken and I'm going to slice it into portions. Start with the legs by cutting them off at the joint before slicing nice clean cuts on the breasts. Now we're in a good place. I've carved up the chicken, I've got my sauces ready to go, the rice is cooked off, so I just want to slice up my chicken, but before I do, take some kitchen paper and you're going to pat this dry. And the reason I'm doing this is so that the sesame oil that I'm going to brush on top of here sticks, so that you get this really great flavour of nutty sesame that runs all over the skin of this chicken. Grab up a touch of sesame oil and just brush that over the top. I think every cuisine around the world has a recipe like this, where it takes chicken and transforms it with humble ingredients and makes it a celebration of that beautiful chuck. So now it's time to slice. Chicken sliced, it's time to serve up this rice. This is looking really good right now, so to finish it off, a little garnish of some cucumber and a touch of coriander. Now it's taste test time. Now, if there has been one dish I've been most excited to recreate from my travels recently, it is this Hainanese chicken. I had it just as I left Singapore, and I actually had it on the flight home. So I'm very excited to see if this homemade version compares to what I tried over there. We've got all the condiments. I've actually taken some of that chicken stock and used it as a soup alongside. We have our green scallion sort of ginger sauce. We also have the chili sauce on the side, but I want to get the pure taste before we start adding the condiments. So let's try a little bit of the rice first. It's really good. The most interesting thing about chicken rice is that there's this kind of layer of chicken fat that wraps around your tongue as you eat it. It's got a sweetness to it. And I actually have to be honest with you, I didn't add enough salt here, so I think this needs a touch more salt. Always when you're cooking rice, it's important that you check the seasoning, but I think as chicken rice goes, this is not far off. Let's try the chicken. It's just so wonderfully tender. And then you have that lovely nutty sesame oil on the outside of that skin, which is actually quite different in terms of what you'd imagine you'd want from chicken skin. Normally you want that crispiness, but this is all about sort of gelatinous texture. And I know that sounds weird, but these are sorts of things that in a lot of Asian cultures is quite a prized aspect of a dish. I'm gonna dip this and try some of that gorgeous sauce. Woo! That is seriously fiery. But I love with a dish like this that if you're not a spice fiend, you don't have to have this. You can have the green scallion kind of one. I really like that there's a bit of everything on this plate, but I definitely want to try some of that ginger sauce too. Wow. You've got ginger, you've got scallion, you've got garlic, you've got great things happening here. And I think between the two sauces, I love that it's a bit of a mix and match, so you can choose your own adventure when it comes to Hainanese chicken. And don't forget about that gorgeous stock as well, because that is a really lovely kind of palate cleanser as you dive through the different aspects of this recipe. It's subtle, but it's also really rich. All in all, I feel like we've done a pretty good job. If I was to pick on my own recipe and pick on what we've created here, I'd say it just needs a little bit more seasoning, but a sprinkle of sea salt here will do the job. Guys, as always, I will leave all the details of the recipe in the description box below over on my website. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to be the first to know when these ClickPlate recipes land your way. Until then, I'm gonna tuck into this and enjoy, so I'll see you soon.